What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on the Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I am here to recap one championships, one on Prime Video 18 card, Gasanov versus O in the headlining fight that went down on January 12th in the Lupini Boxing Stadium, literally moments out from the card happening here at 5 a.m. Irish time. But you look at it's the new year. What else would you expect from us here at Sherdog and me here in Ireland, apart from that? And I must say, it was worth staying up for because it was a pretty good card. I think, like, maybe the only round that wasn't great was almost the last round of the night, when a bit of I suppose a bit of cardio issues set in, a bit of tired. Both of them got very, very tired, and we'll get more to that. But I think there was a touch of that from both the fighters in the main event, but for a couple of the other fights as well. I just wonder, is it kind of, the new year, preparing over Christmas can't be easy and stuff? Maybe it does hold lads back a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. But overall, a really fun card, and I think sometimes when you have a fun first round and a fun second round, it can often lead to a third round that maybe isn't the best. And we had bits and pieces of that tonight, but overall, as I said, very, very fun card. Again, another thing I want to reiterate, I reiterated this, or I suppose I said it rather than reiterated, coming into the card, that there was more mixed martial arts on this than there has been, I suppose, recently. A lot of people were calling for that, and Chatry said that would be the case. So there was, let me just go on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 MMA fights out of, I think, 9 fights overall in this. So that's a pretty good percentage based on, recently there was, I think the last card had no MMA fights, but most of them had your fair share of MMA fights, maybe, rather than, what is it, nearly 60% on this, or over 60%, or around 60%. Maybe you're talking 30% of the cards were MMA. Although that, I think it was a little bit overblown as well, that was. And I think maybe more so towards the end of the year, it became less and less MMA. But, last year there was still plenty of MMA on cards. But I'm glad we're getting back to more MMA and a real emphasis on mixed martial arts, because at the end of the day, look, we all know MMA is the most successful martial art. Adding in bits or pieces of it will definitely help, but I think that's the way one championship should go, and I think they're going the right way about it too. Right, let's get in. No more waiting. Let's recap the card and talk through it here. And we'll start at the main event. Shamil Gasanov versus Oho Take in the featherweight division. Gasanov, this was his first fight back since his fight in July of last year, where he lost to Gary Tonin in the second round. And for Take, I suppose, on the other side of it, then he was coming off of a loss to Akbar Abdullayev in March of last year. So both coming back off of their first career loss in a good while. It's not since 2017 that Take loss. Obviously, it was the first career loss for Gasanov. So a massive fight for both of them coming back. And do you know what? I think I think I got the pick right. I'm not too bothered about that. But the analysis of Gasanov's game that I did in pre-show, I'm very, very happy with it, because it's very easy to look at Gasanov. I said this in pre-show and think of him as a wrestler and, someone who just wants to takedowns, wants to get on top. But you need to look at him more of like a quasi wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy, and the way he mixes both styles, and even maybe more so a jiu-jitsu guy. And we think we saw that here in this fight, whereas it was a lot of more jiu-jitsu positions, if you want to say, like going for arm bars and taking the back and stuff. But then, especially late in the fight, and we will get to it here, I think he did very well just to realize where the fight was going and go to more of a wrestling game, where maybe he wasn't necessarily going for a finish. He was just controlling the position because Take was doing a good job of getting out and stuff. So I think I'm very happy with the analysis we did coming in. And for Gasanov, the thing about him now, I think, is that fight really does show the type of fighter he is. So it's going to be very difficult for him when he matches up against some very good world-class opponents, as there tends to be, around the featherweight, lightweight divisions. It's going to be difficult for him. So he's going to have to change up the game a little bit. He's going to have to do different things at different times, like he did tonight, I think, with the kind of, I suppose, the switch into the wrestling game later. Although the fight maybe called for it tonight, maybe it needs to be more of a preordained type of thing. But we'll talk about that maybe as he goes into his next fight. So to recap this fight, Started off with a Gasanov takedown right from the very start. Tate got back up, and then Tate got to his knees, but Gasanov kind of just pulled him back down into him, went for an armbar when falling off. As I mentioned, the kind of the more submission-oriented, jiu-jitsu-oriented game than a wrestling-oriented game. Then all landed some lovely knees. They got back up again. There was a lot of kind of takedowns, getting back up, knees to the head in this fight. And especially through 2 rounds, it was that Gasanov did a great job, I think, of constantly pulling him back down. So, we talk about the jiu-jitsu part of it there, but the wrestling part, I think, the chain wrestling that we see a lot from, the Russian fighters for Khabib and Islam and stuff down through the years, more so Khabib. Even if you get a good, say you're in a bad position against them, you move to a good position, you're about to get out, they don't let you out. They just don't let you get away. Like not even necessarily chain wrestling, but it's kind of just, I don't know what it'd be called. Maybe it is chain wrestling, but it's maybe a more defensive positional chain wrestling than actually like the offensive chain wrestling, which we are most common with, in which the chain wrestling words are usually used for. But anyway, again, a lot of knees to the head. When Gasanov took the back though with no hooks towards the end of that round, it looked like a real bad position for Tate because he couldn't really get away from it. And I think it actually was Gasanov who moved himself to, I don't know what he was trying to do, but so he was on the back and he was like, Tate wasn't really moving. And it was the first time that had happened in a position that wasn't like really, really good for Gasanov. It was like, as I said, on his back with no hooks, wasn't even putting in the hooks. And it's the type of position, if it had been a minute or two earlier in the round, I think Tate would have either like got to his side or kind of got to a knee, maybe controlled the wrist and stood back up for him, but he didn't here. But I think Gasanov made the mistake here, ended up kind of moving to the side of Tate, and then actually got the takedown himself and landed some lovely elbows, but Shamil scrambled back up towards the end of the round. Now, obviously, one championship, as we know, is scored as a whole, so there's no point giving you my 10-9s or anything here because they don't exist, but I think Gasanov was probably ahead at that stage. Round 2 started with a body lock takedown for Gasanov, and he slammed the face of O into the ground, but he kind of slammed his own face too. It was a real awkward one. They got back up again after that because it was a weird position. It was a takedown, but not a real takedown. And then there was another slam for Gasanov again. This was a better one. He took the back here, and this looked like it could be a fight-ending position. He had a real rear naked choke position here. Defending it really well. It was all for a while, and then he got it. He got the rear naked choke. He got it in. I was expecting the tap to come, but it didn't. Tate just turned, and it was like, the commentator said he turned into it. He actually turned, sorry, they said he turned out of it. He actually turned into it. Like, he just kept turning his head, and eventually the choke just went away. It was unbelievable because like he was fully in that rear naked choke. Like, that fight was over and he just refused. It was absolutely brilliant. Didn't take kind of just turned it on. He got some lovely knees from that position again, where kind of the sprawl of the takedown and in the knees in there. Gasanov did get his back in towards the end of the round, and look, that was again, if you're talking about rounds, the rear naked choke was the best part of that round and the biggest thing that happened in the whole fight up until that point. So a very, very taxing round, I would say. There, the first round was as well because there was so many movements and so many different scrambles, but that round, I think, because of the putting in the rear naked choke, defending the rear naked choke, the adrenaline dump, very, very taxing round. In the take, the third round, then I think Tate probably landed his best shot at the very start of this, and it wasn't amazing or anything. It was like a small left hook inside, and I was kind of thinking, right, just get a bit of space now and do that again, like land that left hand again. And I think he landed a small right hand after it, but Shamil immediately clinched. And Tate kind of turned out of it, but then Shamil got a takedown. He got his back, and there was a point where he got his back, and then they moved around, went into side control, and he was on top in side control, and they were both looking so tired. And you're kind of thinking, if he gets into a worse position here, this fight is over. And he did. He gave up the back. But this was the position, I think, where Shamil was like, right, if I put too much effort into this, am I going to gas myself and kind of bring him back into it? So I think he turned to a more wrestling than grappling game here, as I mentioned, to start off the show today. And I think that was smart, to be honest. Maybe for the next 2 to 3 minutes, he was just kind of riding out on top, winning the round, staying on top, knowing he was ahead. Did go for a bit of an armbar late, but it was, the fight was basically over at that stage. And then got a takedown, like literally at the dying embers of the fight. And that was it. The unanimous decision for Gasanov, who gets back to winning ways. He'll be climbing that ladder again. And, a very interesting, good fight for 2 rounds with a lot of, as I said, a lot of scrambles, a lot of movement. The third round, I suppose, not as good, but still a bit of excitement in it, and a good main event there in that one. Right, let's move forward. I'm gonna touch on the Muay Thai and the kickboxing matches as well, because there were some very fun ones there, especially the co-main event. This was, if you haven't seen this, you need to see it, because this was a really, really fun fight, especially the second round. It was Sua Black against Stefan Cardi, who was Irish. I actually didn't know until I saw it here. He's fighting out of Dublin, and he put on a great display here. But it was a good first round, a good start for Karodi here. I would say he won in the first round. He won the first minute and the third minute, but everything happened in the second minute. It was kind of one of those. He landed a good high kick early, but Sua Black elbow hurt him, and it was the left after that as well. Lovely left hand. I think it was the biggest shot of that round. And then Karodi came back, did well, landed a high kick with his left hand, but he looked to have a broken nose or something like that after the elbow in the middle of that, so I would say he probably won that round. But the second round started, and it was a huge right hand for Karodi, knocked Sua Black down, and I thought the fight was over at that stage. I was like, oh god, this is what, like, with a bit of Irish bias on me, it's like, what a win for Irish MMA, or for Irish MA here, martial arts, combat sports in general. But Sua Black came back and almost immediately knocked him down with a huge shot, and then there was a second elbow in there again. He was just absolutely landing loads of shots with Sua Black. An unbelievable round. If you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it. It's on Amazon Prime over in America and Canada, and everywhere else around the world as well. So this second round especially, but the whole fight was fantastic. But Karodi, I thought from that point the fight was over again, because he was hurt so badly, getting hit very, very hard twice. And then the start of the third, Sua Black landed a massive left hand as well. Karodi threw a shot, and he stepped back on his right foot, and I thought his leg was broken. John was one of those ones, and I was like, he was standing on it. I was like, oh, he's carrying this. He is in bad pain here. And he just drew it as hard as he could throw it. I was like, well, maybe it is broken. Who knows? But this lad is throwing it anyway. It was absolutely unbelievable. It was a wheel kick then for Sua Black. Karodi caught, I would say, caught his third wind then after getting hit by a load of shots. He landed one or two then, but Sua Black was winning kind of all the way after. I just think it was a step too far. It was absolutely insane fight, and Sua Black ended up winning that there. But absolute, I think Karodi, if they were kind of maybe bringing him in for one fight to line someone up, for Sua Black, I think he probably earned himself another opportunity with this performance. Absolutely fantastic. It was a credit to Irish martial arts, and absolutely fantastic there. But a great win for Sua Black as well, who moves on. Then we had a really fun MMA fight in the bantamweight division. Kwan Won Il against Sheehan, who fought. For Sheehan, I thought he fought a lot better than he has been recently. He won his last fight, but he lost the two before that, coming in against Kwan Won Il, who, apart from losing to Fabricio Andrade, is now 6-1 since the pandemic. So he's on a really, really, really good run. But this was a more even, well, not a more even fight than I thought. Like, Kwan Won Il did dominate the fight, but Sheehan made a real fight of this and made it very, very interesting. Well, it made it more high level, I think, than, I think he might have, maybe been better served trying to make it a scrap. And he did try to make it a scrap at times, but he did well in the technical fight, and it was very, very interesting. So to run through the fight, Sheehan opened up the fight with a hard left hand. Kwan took him down, but Sheehan got up, and then he slammed Kwan down himself and he slammed his head right off the ground. And I think from that point of view on, Kwon Won-il knew he was in a fight, and he took that seriously from there. They got up, both kind of landed. Kwon got an unsuccessful. He went for a takedown, but he was unsuccessful. Win it. But he was kind of just landing a little bit nicer, was Kwon Won-il. But Shinya was landing the counters. Double leg takedown for Kwon. He secured him top control. And that was a great point for him there. He landed some very good ground and pound. There was they got caught in the ring then, and there was a lot of that. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of the ring, to be honest. It's for MMA, it just gets too awkward and it changes the positions unnaturally. I'm not a big fan of it. But anyway, they got up after that. Kwon was kind of picking him apart. Shinya looked very, very tired. He was getting ate up by Kwon towards the end of the round, and there was a late takedown even for Kwon as well in there. In the second round, Kwon was landing some lovely shots. He took him down. Shinya went for a guillotine. It actually looked better than I thought it would look, but Kwon got out of it pretty handily there. There's some massive ground and pound. The gum shield got knocked out. And after that, when he was on top, in the mount, landing some big shots, big elbows. The elbows came before the mount. Then after the mount, there's some massive shots again with the elbows, and the fight was stopped by Herb Dean in the second round. Now, in my opinion, it was another bad night and a litany of bad nights for Herb Dean, but this wasn't the worst thing he did on the night, but I think it was maybe 3 or 4 elbows too late. There was no need for Shinya to take all of these, but he acquitted himself well throughout the fight, but Kwon Won-il looked absolutely fantastic and put on a devastating victory here at 2:40 of the second round. So a very, very good win for him there, and he gets back towards the title again. Muay Thai fight then after that, Rung Nari took on Shakir Al-Takreti, whose brother he fought there recently, and I tweeted it after this fight, but I think Rung Nari might be the most exciting combat sports athlete in the world at the moment. He just does not care. He just throws everything. I don't like to be disrespectful in my notes even, that other people can't even read, but my first thing is Rung Nari smashed him. And he really did. He opened up with a left hand. His nickname is Legatron, and he was kicking that leg open. Like, you could actually watch that fight and recap it and barely even talk about the leg kicks. But if you just talked about the leg kicks, he probably landed about 15 of them, and they were devastating as well. But they were almost a backdrop to everything else. He dropped him late with a body shot that looked just looked killer in there. It was unbelievable. Then there was a head kick knockdown to start the second, smashed him. He got a count, and then the fight ended late in the second round with a body kick KO, and then kind of a downed knee. But at that stage, Al-Takreti had just taken enough, and Rung Nari gets the win and goes through in the Muay Thai lightweight division there. Absolutely fantastic from him. And if you haven't seen that one as well, if you're maybe an MMA fan, you want to get into a bit of Muay Thai or something, that would be a fight I would advise you to watch, because that was that's someone you can become a fan of. Absolutely fantastic. I suppose the most back and forth fight of the night then came between Artem Balak and Ogal Bataru. In the next one then, a very, very closely run thing until it wasn't a closely run thing, I suppose. Bataru put on a great display here, I thought, for the first round and a bit. He kind of spun into a takedown and got him down early, but it got up very quickly. There was very kind of not much happening in the middle, kind of 3 minutes maybe of the first round, which I think for someone like Bataru really suits him, because we talked in the previous show about his cardio issues and his issues as well with getting kind of taken in to a war. He doesn't want to really do that. Artem Belak didn't really want to do that either in terms of getting into the war. So I think Bataru kind of he did what he needed to do there. He got a clinch in the last 2 minutes. Artem got kind of turned around, the clinched in, but Bataru landed a hard elbow. And I think, like, if you're scoring that in the 10-point must system, Bataru very, very well could have won that round. He landed, I would say the better shots. The bigger shots anyway, if maybe not the better shots. But the first real takedown attempt, I suppose, of the fight came from Artem at the start of the second round, but it was no good. Bataru, he didn't got a takedown attempt, which I was very, very surprised with. I knew he'd go for one, but I thought it would be very hard, but he did get it. And that was a huge battle won from Bataru. They were scrambling in after that. It was really, really interesting. Bataru got a takedown again, and Artem got up a little bit easier this time. And when he did get up, then that was... I wouldn't say it was the beginning of the end, but he just looked fresher. Do you know, there's sometimes in fights where something big happens, and one guy looks absolutely wrecked, and the other guy looks like, okay, this is my opportunity. And that was what happened here. Bataru did land some nice punches after that and did get a clinch after that again, but I think that took a little bit out of him. And with seconds left in the second round, Artem Belak landed a beautiful knee, kind of a walk-in flying knee, landed some combos, and it was one of those ones where Bataru kind of just was knocked out and fell down, and then Herb Dean just like refused to stop it, and but Artem Belak stopped it. And then Herb Dean, like 3 seconds later, was like, he's knocked out. Okay, I better stop that. And then walked in. So Bataru didn't take that much damage because of Belak more so than Herb Dean. But again, not great refereeing, but a very, very good finish there for Artem Belak. And, you know, somewhat of a comeback. I wouldn't say he was miles behind. It was a better comeback later on in this card, which we'll talk about in a second. But... yeah, very, very good win for Artem Belak there, and a smart performance, I think, from him, you know, against the guy who was also having a smart performance, so fair play to him in that. Then we had a lightweight Muay Thai bout between Leon Nolan and Ali Aliyev. This obviously coming out of the Sky Sports deal. I actually watched it in Sky Sports. It was great. They just played it, you know, like I used to watch it on YouTube and all, so that was absolutely fantastic. Nothing... you know, nothing big or anything to report there, so that's very good. Not the greatest fight though. This one, I won't lie. Kind of a clash. So one guy was fighting out of Southpaw, one guy was fighting out of Orthodox, and they kept kind of clashing. You know, getting into a clinch, head clashes, kind of close round. Both landed well, kind of maybe in the last minute or so. Again, the second round, very close. I thought Nolan landed one lovely right hook. That was probably the difference in the midway point of the round. Desai was landing some nice leg kicks. But I think the late combo from Nolan probably just stole it for him. And Nolan stunned him then with a left hand in the third. You know, he was attacking. Morissiev got a low blow, and then that kind of slowed the pace. So the first, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half, maybe a little bit less of the third round was probably the best portion of the fight, but then the low blow kind of stopped that again. But Nolan came on, landed some good shots towards the end of the third, and ended up winning the fight there. So not a lot to write home about in that one. The great comeback then came in the heavyweight MMA fight before that, in which Kong Ji-won beat Mikhail Jamal Abdul Latif, who I did a preview for this, right? And I said I couldn't find much of Mikhail, and what I did find, right, was a kickboxing match and an MMA fight from about 10 years ago where he got taken down and submitted. Now, they came on the commentary today and they said he was a BJJ black belt and that he'd want to take it down. And he did do a few takedowns and stuff for this. But yeah, my apologies for the analysis in that one. I did try. I looked him up. I looked everywhere. I looked on Instagram. I Googled it. I looked on YouTube. I watched 2 fights from a long time ago. And yeah, that information was just... I was not privy to that information coming in. But... didn't really miss out on too much. His BJJ black belt didn't do him much good here, to be honest. He didn't exactly look amazed. Look, he did okay. Like Kong Ji-won is a very, very difficult guy to fight unless you just take him down and finish him, which Latif did not do here. So just running through the fight. Nothing happened for a minute. Kong threw a kick, which was caught, and he was slammed down. Got into side control, did Latif. Kong got up, but Latif got him back down, got into rear naked choke position, but he defended it really well, did Kong there, flattened out for a second, defended that well as well, so got to the end of the round. Then Kong sprawled and landed a good few knees to start the second round, almost got the front choke, but Latif single-legged him and slammed him down again, got into the half guard, but did very little, got into the guard. Kong was actually landing the better shots off of his back, and then Herb stood him up. And then Kong sprawled 3 times. And on the third one, Latif was kind of too tired to get back up and was on his knees on the ground. And as he was, Kong flew in. Latif I think he stood up, so I wouldn't, like, you can knee on the ground in one championship anyway, but I think even if this was in the UFC, it would have been legal. Possibly, I'd need a replay, but as I said, doesn't matter. Hit him with a massive grounded knee and got on top, ground and pounded him, and finished him. And I think I think the more well-rounded, better MMA fighter won this fight, and I have a soft spot for Kong, and I was kind of happy he won because there's some great fights for him in that heavyweight division. I don't think it'll be the last we see of Latifi. There's probably some other guys there. Maybe him versus Buchecha might be a fight to make down the line. I know Buchecha has a win over Kong, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just triple check that there. He does back in 2021. So, maybe that'll be a fight to make down the line, and we'll see how that one goes. All right, then the last two fights, the only kickboxing fight on the card, Bibalut Isaev versus Yuri Farkas. Very interesting about this one was Farkas was very, very active. You know, this is the sort of matchup that reminds me of like the old school Frankie Edgar fights where he's just throwing a lot of shots and, you know, the air is getting blasted and you see the end of the round, Frankie Edgar is throwing 730 strikes. His opponent has the mark on his face and Frankie Edgar's bleeding all over the place. It reminded me a little bit of this one where with Farkas playing the Frankie Edgar character here. See if it was just more accurate. You know, it'd be a round that a bad judge would give to Farkas, just missing shots, getting countered. Isiev was just clearly the better fighter, in my opinion. Nice jab, nice body kicks too. The second round of Farkas I actually thought was better because he did less. So it was a slow 2 minutes, throwing a lot less, so he wasn't getting hit as much. But a great last minute for Isiev. He went forward because he was no longer getting much to counter, and he was winning there as well, you know. And I think going into the third, Isiev realised he could win this fight anywhere, and that's exactly what he did. Farkas looked very tired. Isiev landed 4 huge shots throughout this round. One a wheel kick, one a head kick, one a hook, and one a spinning back fist, and ended up winning the fight. I think pulling away in the end, so a very, very good win for him there. And in the opening fight of the night, I gave it a big build-up, this one, and it was a bad fight, but it didn't deliver maybe in the same way I thought it would. There was, I suppose, the best of this fight was in the first minute between Mark Abelardo and Ibrahim Dayuev. Both are very active in minute one, both landing. It was one of those ones where you couldn't be quick enough to take notes. There was so much landing. But then Dayuev got a takedown literally about 1 minute into it. But they got kind of stuck up in the ropes again. When you get stuck in the ropes and you get moved, it invariably gives the guy like on top a better position than he had before. And it just leads to more like top control with very little landing. Abelardo got up, but eventually, but Dayuev got his back, and that happens pretty regularly as well. Like you know, it kind of gives the guy sometimes the opportunity of getting a better position, and he kind of stayed there for almost the rest of the round. He stood up as well, right? And Abelardo stood up, and Dayuev was on his back, and he was throwing elbows, right, and punches to the back of the head, over and over, like the spine as well, over and over and over. And Herb Dean was there just looking at him. And Abelardo was like, what's going on here? He's just throwing loads of illegal low blows. And Herb was like, oh yeah, whatever. He just didn't care. He just did not care. There was, I would say, at least 7 to 10 illegal blows to the spine / back of the head. And Herb Dean just did not care. You know, he was landing plenty of accurate legal punches as well, as the way of Abelardo got caught at the very end with a lovely flying knee as well in the first round. In the second round, it was kind of a lot of takedowns, but not a lot behind him for Dayuev, and Abelardo was winning, was landing a few shots. Immediate takedown for Dayuev to start the round. Abelardo got up, down again, not landed. Abelardo landed some nice elbows, was taken down again, up again, nice elbows again. You know, you could see where this is going. Nice right hand on the break from Abelardo. It was probably the best shot of the round, I think. When he got taken down again, there was a few knees from Dayuev, and they were probably his best shots. But I think if we're talking about the 10-9 system, I think Abelardo wins this round because Dayuev just had like control, but he didn't land any of the shots. And I think Abelardo won it. I think, you know what? I think the third was the same. Mark threw a few hands early, but was taken down, gave up his back. Herb stood them up for a rope grab that I did not see. not to jump totally on Herb Dean here, but I did not see a rope grab. I think he just wanted to stand him up, and which, to be fair, grand, I have no problem with that. Then there was a single leg takedown. He was held against the ring. There were some elbows. Herb stood him up again, this time for just, he just stood him up for standing him up. Duev kind of slops to it, clinched in. There was a late slam for him. Bellator got up and got on top, but didn't do too much. Close enough round there. Again, Bellator probably landed a few shots early, landed a few elbows in the clinch. I probably would have scored him. I think if this fight happens under 10 by must system, it's probably 29-28 Bellator, maybe 29-28. You could give this 30-27 Duev as well. There's absolutely not 100% an Bellator card here, but Duev won this one unanimously on the when the fight is scored as a whole, as I knew he would. A different fight than I was expecting. A good battle and an interesting one to talk about the scoring system with. So, yeah, overall, that was the first fight of the night. So, an overall pretty good card. Just to recap maybe the MMA decisions again. There, we'll start off with at the bottom of the card. Ibrahim Duev beat Marco Bellator by unanimous decision in the featherweight division. Jiwon Kang beat Mikhail Jamal Abdul Latif with a second round TKO. There was also a second round TKO for both Artem Balak and Kwon Won Il. Balak beat I always find it hard to pronounce them. Ink Orgil Batarku and Kwon Won Il beat Shinikate Zolceteg, whose name I also pronounce very well every time. And in the main event, Shamil Gasanov got the decision win over Ho Taek O in the featherweight division. So pretty fun card for one championship. Great to be back for the new year, and we don't have too long to wait till the next one championship card, which is coming up towards the end of the month. All right, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. You know what? I stayed up until 5 o'clock in the morning. You could give this a thumbs up. You could give a subscribe to Sherdog, and maybe you could even share it as well. Tag me at Sean Sheehan BA over on X and anywhere else you'll find it as well. So if you would do that, I would be very, very, very grateful. But even if you don't, I really appreciate you tuning in. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.